Today I'll be addressing some of the common stereotypes that people have about Kitengela and Kajiado as a whole. Let's start by defining what a stereotype is. In simple words, a stereotype is an often unfair and untrue belief that many people have about all people or things with a particular characteristic. It can be racial or cultural. In this case, we're talking about things that people believe about Kitengela that are really not true. Right now, we're walking in the beautiful streets of Kitengela. And as you can see, there are no cows or goats walking on the streets. That brings me to stereotype number 1. Most people I have met believe that Kitengela, or in general Kajiado, is a very underdeveloped area with a lot of bushes, thickets, and animals walking around. That is not the case. Anauza hapa? Anauzaje hizi all stars? Sasa? Unauzaje hizi all stars? I'm walking in a very organized, civilized town, which is also a satellite town near to Nairobi. And as you can see, there are no cows or dogs or any type of animal walking around on the streets of Kitengela. Stereotype number 2. Most people think that things are cheap in Kitengela. Well, it depends with your level of income. But Kitengela, like any other town, consists of high income earners, middle income earners, and low income earners. And in my own opinion, a majority of the population in Kitengela is of middle income earners. So you will find goods and items that range between a fair price to a slightly higher price than normal. However, still there are very affordable items and life is fairly affordable in Kitengela. So that's another stereotype that has been addressed. Which brings me to stereotype number 3. Most people think that in Kitengela there are no malls. This one really had me. Okay, sorry to burst your bubble, but in Kitengela we have at least 2 to 3 malls. And the biggest being the Kitengela Mall. This is the big mall. This mall is so big that it has attracted big international brands. And to say the least, let's just walk in and I'll show you around. Stereotype number 4. It actually breaks my heart to think that people out here perceive Kitengela as a very dry and semi-arid area that is completely dusty and always sunny 365 days of the year. To some extent, that might be true, but have you been in Kitengela lately? Majority of the roads are actually tarmacked or curb road. When it comes to the dry areas, it's on the outskirts of Kitengela. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so if you haven't yet subscribed, kindly take 1 second and do so. Stereotype number 5. Did you know that people actually think that nothing fun happens in Kitengela? Well, I don't know what your idea of fun is, but in Kitengela we have numerous co-curricular activities, things that you can do in your free time, and this is one of them. We also have skating in Kitengela. Last I checked, I don't remember any satellite town that has skating apart from like the Nairobi CBD and some places along Mombasa Road and major malls like the Sarit Center. So it is actually in Kitengela. We have skating and many other fun activities that actually attract tourists. So put some respect to Kitengela. Don't just say that Kitengela is some semi-arid area with no fun and no development. We are really doing wonders. We're actually adding a lot to Kenya's GDP. Did you know that people actually think that Kitengela is full of Maasais, considering that Kitengela is a town within the county of Kajiado? But that is not the case. Kitengela is a very diverse town with more than 10 dominating tribes. We have the Kikuyus in Kitengela, Kambas in Kitengela. Actually, Kambas are the majority, followed by Kikuyus and other tribes. Currently, we have a lot of foreigners from Africa living in Kitengela, like Rwandese people who are living in Kitengela. We have Congolese, like Burundi, Nigerians living in Kitengela. The majority of the people who are actually dominating in Kitengela, the people who have settled and are living and doing business in Kitengela, are not even Maasais. Maasais are mostly in the other sides of Kajiado, like from Namanga and other places within the county of Kajiado. So that's a common stereotype that I hear. People think that because Kitengela is like in Kajiado or seemingly far from Nairobi, that it's mainly dominated by Maasais and people of that like, but that's not really the case. Speaking of far, did you know that people actually think that Kitengela is like, I don't know, 2 hours or like 5 hours away from Nairobi? I have no idea what people think, but majority of the people think that Kitengela is like a very, very far place. Kitengela is not that far. That's a very big stereotype. Kitengela is literally an hour away or less to Nairobi and from. Right now, we already have the expressway, so which means Kitengela is like 20 minutes away from Nairobi. To some extent, it's even 15 minutes or 10 minutes away from Nairobi, depending on whether you're using the expressway or not. When it comes to the distance between Kitengela and Nairobi, in most cases, it's easier to access Kitengela from Nairobi as compared to most of the other satellite towns that are surrounding Nairobi. And that is a subject that is open to discussion. So, before you even comment about the distance between Kitengela and Nairobi, first do your own research and find out. Or even just take a mat and try and travel all the way to Kitengela. Or rather still, you can just take a cab or drive yourself to Kitengela. Kitengela is not that far. And that's why the population of Kitengela is growing, because it is very accessible to Nairobi and other towns that are around Nairobi. Like, for example, it's accessible to Machakos, it's accessible to Tanzania. By the way, Kitengela is 2 hours away from Tanzania, just in case you did not know. So it's very strategic. It's strategically placed. And it's one of the majorly growing towns in the entire region of Nairobi metropolitan. So Kitengela, I hope I am addressing all the stereotypes you have about Kitengela. Kitengela is a very, very, very advanced town, and it is open to a lot of development. And that's why a lot of investors are rushing to Kitengela.